What we're going to do is called the sumo squat. So how to properly do a sumo squat, right? Very similar to a squat. The big difference is going to focus more on the hips a little bit more, and the stance is different. So we're going to go through how to set it up and different cues to fix it. Okay. So first things first, your legs, you want a wide stance. So generally, you're about shoulder width apart. You want to go wider than shoulder width, right? So almost my hips ends here, about a foot out. Next thing you want to do is you want to point your toes, not forward, but at a 45-degree angle. So you want your toes to be diagonally, okay? From here, you want to focus on pushing those hips back and bending the knees, okay? So I'm going to stand sideways so you can see it, okay? So toes pointed diagonally, right? Wider than my hips, pushing the hips back, but also bending the knees, and then back up, okay? So once again, knees are going to make sure that they're in line with the toes, and then pushing those heels, kind of the midfoot, into the ground. So that's the sumo squat. So common mistakes with the sumo squat, right, is number one, leaning forward too much. You're going to notice this because if you're squatting down and your chest is facing towards the ground, then you're leaning forward too much, okay? You want to make sure that as you're squatting, your chest is facing the wall in front of you, okay? So a quick tip on how to fix that is instead of keeping your hands close to your chest, bring your arms out front. Imagine you have like a wall or like a stick on your hands, right? So bring both hands out front, right? And you're just going to do the same exact movement. This is going to force you for your chest to be upright, okay? So if you're having issues leaning forward too much, which can be very common to do this, bring your hands forward, and that's going to straighten you out. So next mistake that's very, very common is the knees, okay? I mentioned it earlier, but when you're in your wide stance, you want your knees to be in line with the toes. So if I was to look from above, my knee and my toe are in line. Your knee can pass your toes, but the big key is that they're in line with your whole foot, okay? And what I mean by that is don't let your knees cave in. Right now, my knees are the inside of my foot. You want those knees to be outside. So if you had somebody pressing down on your foot or on your knee, you're almost trying to fight that. You're trying to push outside, right? So you want to push those knees out, okay? Pushing the knees out, not letting them cave in. So knees out, okay? And then where you should feel it, you're going to feel it on your thighs a lot. You might feel it on the outer part of your hips, but realistically, you should be feeling it on your thighs. If you're feeling it on your lower back, your stance might be a little bit too wide that it's uncomfortable for the hip here on the outside, right? So you might want to shorten your stance a little bit, and you want to make sure that your back is straight. You're going to feel it maybe a little bit on your back if your back is straight, because it's going to force those muscles to fire. But the big key is making sure that you're going with the knees in line with the toes, back is straight, and pushing down with either the heels or the mid part of your foot. Make sure your heels or your toes don't come off the ground. Keep them nice and flat.